Thank the gentleman. Now I recognize the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Representative Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I will say that I never thought that I would hear a Republican colleague call for socialism and redistribution of wealth and resources. But I'm excited to hear that such proposals do exist on the other side. But I just want to say that if you have been watching college basketball's March Madness tournament, like I have been for the last few weeks, then it should already be clear why college athletes deserve the right to organize and bargain collectively. But in case you haven't been paying attention, I would like to take just a moment to break some of it down. March Madness packed 67 men's and 63 women's basketball games into an action-packed 21 days. This year, for the second year in a row, this college basketball tournament generated around $1 billion in revenue for the NCAA. With such high revenue, you might assume that players get a nice cut of that action, but your assumption would, of course, be wrong. While the schools behind successful women's basketball and women's basketball programs are splitting $15 million in prize money, and the schools of the successful men's team will share around $216 million, their triumphant college athletes will walk away completely empty-handed. Beyond prize money, many schools will make millions of dollars off of these young people's backs. Last year, the Power 5 conferences generated over $3.5 billion in revenue. You heard that, $1 billion with a B. While the NCAA and athletic conferences raked in billions, the outlook for the college athletes who made them their money is grim. In the 2019 survey, almost 25% of Division I athletes reported experiencing food insecurity. In the last month, and nearly 14% were homeless over the last year. A study published by Idaho State University in 2022 found that more than half of the Division I student athletes surveyed reported eating less often than they felt they should because there was not access to enough food. I request unanimous consent to enter into the record an article by Wisconsin Public Radio titled, "Survey of Nearly a Quarter of Division I Athletes Face Food Insecurity."
Without objection, it'll be entered.
Thank you. Mr. Huma, can you speak about the financial strain that far too many athletes face?
You know, it's funny, this organization, my organization, started out as a student group at UCLA when I was playing football, and I formed the group after my teammate was suspended because groceries were left on his doorstep when he was broke and hungry. And meanwhile, they were selling his jersey in the store. They said it was an NIL violation. You couldn't have any benefit at all outside of what a regular student would have received. So this entire movement, much of it, at least my part and my organization's part, stemmed from food and groceries. You may have assumed that I played receiver or DB. Back in the day, I was a linebacker, and I needed to eat a lot, and I was an undersized linebacker. But I went from eating 5-6 meals a day at home to 3 meals a day in a meal cart at UCLA. Immediately lost, within a month and a half, lost 10 pounds. You know, I'm trying to hit 300-pounders at 210 pounds, and it was tough. So fast forward to the surveys you're talking about, unfortunately, much of this hasn't changed. You know, we did a study several years ago on what a full scholarship, you know, the room and board included, what that would provide an athlete to live off of, and found that 80% of athletes would be living below the federal poverty line on those scholarships. In the backdrop, all the numbers you mentioned, all the revenue that these athletes are generating, obviously, you talk about the motivations and people wanting to find some way to change the system, whether it be collective bargaining, employee status, all options need to be on the table to make sure that athletes are treated fairly.
Thank you so much. Despite the incredible financial hardship experienced by many Division I athletes, the NCAA has long argued that the system is fair because they're student athletes and often get the value of educational scholarships at their institutions, so the free housing that we talked about, the free meal plan. However, Mr. Huma, I'm not sure if most Americans realize that college athletes like Division I football, basketball, and volleyball players are managing the equivalent of a full-time job on top of their academics. While the public only sees them for a couple hours on television, athletes are putting in countless hours throughout the week. Very quickly, could you just describe what a typical schedule of a D1 athlete would look like?
Well, first of all, it's year-round, year-round. You see them during the season on game day, maybe on TV, but it's year-round workouts, early morning rises, you finish late. The Pac-12 did a survey of their athletes, and the average athlete across all sports reported spending 50 hours a week on their sport alone. Wow. So yes, full-time job, absolutely.
And then a full-time student as well.
Correct.
Thank you. Based on the schedule you're describing, is it realistic to think that most D1 athletes can equally balance school and athletics while in session?
No. I mean, athletics takes priorities, and in terms of degree completion, which is one of the goals for us to improve, they need more time to graduate on the back end. They need less time, less responsibilities put on their shoulders while they're athletes. And without that, you're gonna continue to have lower graduation rates than you otherwise would.
Thank you, Mr. Huma. As many of my colleagues have pointed out, a one-size-fits-all regulatory approach may prove difficult given the diverse portfolio of sports, divisions, and athletic conferences the NCAA represents, but giving these young people the right to bargain for better wages and hours and working conditions isn't that difficult. It's long past time that we cut the games and start calling out this billion-dollar business for what it is, student-athlete exploitation. I thank you all so much for your testimony and for being with us today, and I yield back.